Okay, let's go ahead and try to get started here. So can I see there's a couple people on the Zoom? Um, Kyle and Bethuel, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, turn that off. Okay, good. All right. So, good morning. Um, I'm starting this as a recording, so let's see how this works. I'm going to try to save it to my computer and then upload it for later viewing, but I can't promise it's going to work perfect the first time because I'm used to, I've taught at Laverne for actually, I've been here a number of years, but I previously used WebEx. So this is the first time using Zoom for Laverne. So it should be fine. I've used Zoom before, I used Teams, I used WebEx, but there might be some technical difficulties with, uh, saving the first video. So we'll see how it goes. But I think students, I'm just this program, students have the option to join live remotely. There's a number of people in class here, and I think there might be one or two students doing like a asynchronously thing where they do it at their own pace. But it seems like most students are here in class, and we got a couple of you on the Zoom here. So I think there's 14 students. Morning. So pretty good turnout here. All right. So why don't I start just by I guess introducing myself. I'll pull up the syllabus. Um, Everyone's here for managerial economics, right? Yeah, that's a good start. Yeah. And I do, for those of you in the classroom, I do apologize. It's fairly warm. I'm already sweating a bit, so if you yeah, so I don't know what to do about the temp, but hopefully we can fix that as the time goes on. But okay, so everyone has access to the D D2W thing or the D2L thing, correct? Okay. And I know you're all here, but everyone got the option for the Zoom link, correct? Okay. So I encourage you all to come to class. I'm gonna try to, I mean, so basically this course will start at 8:30. Um, I'll pull up the syllabus in a minute, but basically the first couple of weeks are gonna be a bit shorter classes because I have some kind of things I have to get to. Today we're gonna go till about 10:30. So we'll do a 2 hour class. We should be able to get enough done, but I have to catch a flight to Long Beach at 1 o'clock. So I think that'll give us enough time. But and then next week will probably be a bit shorter as well. But I think the last 6 weeks I don't have any conflicts, so we can go 3 hours or I think this class goes to 11:45 or something like that. But depending on what you want to do, if we're getting a good pace, we can do 2 hour classes. If we have a lot more to cover, we can do the full time and take a break. But that depends on what you all want to do. Um, and if it's this hot, we might be ending in 2 hours every time. We'll see how it goes. But yeah. So today, uh, I'm gonna try to start the class at 8:30 every time because don't have any conflicts before that, and I'll let you know the timing. But this class, I'm gonna try to wrap it up about 10:30. So if I'm like going on a rant or something, please let me know if it's getting close to then, and I'll wrap it up. Next week, probably even a little bit shorter, and then the last 6 weeks we have flexibility to keep doing 2 hour classes, depending what you want, or kind of doing the whole, I mean, yeah. So that's and then you're welcome to join via Zoom. I encourage you all to come to class. I'll be here. So I know that I've taught this courses for this program before, and I know that the first week or two there's more students. uh, you know, uh, I don't look forward to the week where I just come by myself, but that's up to you all. So I know you have other stuff to do. I don't have a very long commute, but you know, if anything comes up, just let me. All right. So let me pull up the syllabus, and we'll start with that. Okay, and I did update it last night. If you got a chance to see that. And the reason why is because I wanted, There we go. Okay, so I'll go through the whole thing, but the quick things I did last night were just the grading parts and the assignments. So I think originally I had like a final exam in class and a take in a project or presentations. Because some students will be joining remotely, and I think one or two students doing this as like a asynchronously at their own pace. It's going to be very difficult to do presentations or group projects. So I took that away, and essentially, this is what I think will be best for the course. Is we'll have kind of three big homework assignments and then a take-home final, and that'll be kind of the bulk. So I know we have 8 weeks. It's going to go pretty quickly. I like to not have something due right away just because, this is not my first time teaching. Sometimes students join late. Sometimes I know that one or two students couldn't join today, but um, your first assignment, if everything goes to plan, will be due in week 3, September 6th. And then this will be the schedule as long as we stay on track there. So I've got your first homework assignment up. We'll start going through it today. And that won't be due for 2 weeks. For some reason I don't cover the appropriate material, that can always be delayed, but the plan is to have essentially like 3 homeworks that are worth 20 points each. And then the final will be worth about 30 points. And then I have this participation grade, and really that's, I don't think I'm gonna, I can't really grade for attendance because of the structure of the class, but I'll leave that up as like, if you come to class, then you already got the points. But if you join remotely as well, or if those are joining or watching the videos later. So essentially, as long as you know, participate in a lecture by coming to class or watching the videos, that's a lot of your time. So I think that should count for some points. So coming to class every week will give you those 10 points. And I think I usually do it like each class is a point. But because of the math, it's just, so essentially you get a point for every time you come, and then I'll just, depending on the rounding, I'll probably just throw in 2 points to make it even out. And so it's a kind of cumulative point system. And what that means is like you'll start getting points as it goes along. So right now, it's not like based on percentage, so you don't have any points yet because nothing's happened. But after the first assignment, you can have like 20 points, and it can add up to 100. And so it makes it. I kind of switched to the system. I think it's a little bit easier to understand. You don't have to worry about like taking averages or whatnot. It's you do the assignment, you get 10 points, and then the 100 points is equivalent to an A. Okay, so I I started going through the syllabus without even starting at the top. So um, just quick notes on the class, or I guess myself is so um, I've been teaching at Laverne since probably 2016. I don't teach full-time anymore. I have a full-time job, like 40 plus hours a week at SoCal Edison. So I do that during the week now, and sometimes if I have time, like this week, I'll teach a Saturday class, or it's I can do like a night class, but that's even more difficult. So um, yeah, so this kind of worked out. So I'm glad to be kind of teaching again for a little bit. But yeah, so just during the week, if I don't respond, it's probably because I have like 100 other emails with a different email address, and yeah.
What do you do at Edison? Can I ask?
Sure, yeah, you can ask. I mean, the job is not confidential, but the information is. But I am an advisor on like a measurement and evaluation team. So my team is mostly like a bunch of, it's like half engineers and half like PhD economists that uh, kind of manage a bunch of contracts for energy efficiency programs or demand response programs, and work with the like evaluators and analysts to like recommend the program or start new programs or make sure everything's going okay. But it's I can get into more detail, but it's essentially I'm a economic advisor on a measurement and evaluation team. It's yeah. So yeah, if any of you ever have the chance to, I don't know if you're interested in the electricity sector or utilities, but Edison's a great company. I'd recommend it. So if they're, if it's something that I don't know what your long-term plans are, but I would be happy to like, look at some jobs you're interested in and point you in the right direction. But sure. So yeah, I know this is a managerial economics class, but given my other job at Edison, I am happy to answer any questions. Yeah, not about the fires or anything, but I also I don't I don't have a. But if you have questions about the electricity market or specific things, I could probably answer those depending the confidentiality of the answer. But yeah, so that's not really like baked into the course, but could be if you're interested in that kind of thing. When we get to monopolies, I'll try to throw in some. So yeah, so I probably in total I probably taught, I don't know, close to 75 classes at Laverne over time. At one time I was teaching like 10 classes at a time, but recently just I think the last course I taught was 2014 spring, so it's been about a year, but it's hard to get the time slot and but anyways, so that's my background. Um, good. So this will be a, micro course on managerial economics. Course description, that. Now the text is a newer one. I think there was an older edition maybe previously assigned. I don't know how many of you have got or accessed the textbook, but I chose a newer one because the previous one was published in like 2018, and it seems like a lot's happened since then. So really, anything like business-wide post COVID is drastically changed. So I think it's important to have a newer textbook. So I think this is a good textbook. I have kind of skimmed through it. Yeah, there's a number of the chapters are pretty short. At this time, I've read about the first 5 chapters, and I think it's a pretty good textbook. It's not too technical yet, so I think you'll like it. This is what it looks like in the Cengage. So I don't know if you all are you doing like the Cengage but online version, the physical, some of you got the physical, okay. So whatever is, I don't know what the best option is. Laverne provides the professors this Cengage version, so I'm just using this. I could probably request a physical copy, but I think I kind of like having the physical copy, but just because this was available at my fingertips, I started using this one. But let me know if you have any issues. I don't know how much the textbooks are anymore, but is it so if it's you're also welcome to go share it or kind of do your own thing, but that's the textbook. So right. Textbook. Oh, there you go. There's one I reserved at the library. So oh, so you mean like okay, gotcha. Okay, well there you go. There's an option. Okay. So I kind of structured the course. I looked through I've taught a similar course before, like a managerial economics for at Laverne. It wasn't called the same exact thing. It was called like economics of the firm, but it's pretty much the same thing. So it's a managerial econ course where we're going to look at a lot of microeconomic things, how they apply to business, different market structures, how pricing is determined, different ways to calculate profit. So I kind of went through and highlighted the things I thought were most important. After I read the entire textbook, I might change that, but I know that the first 2 weeks are pretty up to date because I've already prepared and read through all that stuff. And I think the next weeks or so will be similar, but if something comes up that's also important, I might add it to the syllabus or kind of change. But basically like the plan is to cover. Let's see. So the plan is to cover the first 5 chapters, the first 2 weeks. And the chapters aren't very long. You can probably read a chapter in 30 minutes or so, depending on your reading ability. But I don't think, I've seen some textbooks where it takes hours to get through a chapter. It's pretty, thus far, it's pretty easy to read. So I recommend, I doubt that you've all just been reading the textbook beforehand at your leisure. But if you have, great. But when you read through it, I'll try to cover the things I think most relevant to the class. But if there's something else I miss, let me know and we can talk about that too. Okay. Yeah, it's like, and then anything else that you see on here, or as the class progresses that you want to learn about that you think might be applicable that I haven't prepared, let me know. Or if you have like, I don't know if you have a specific business interest or stuff like that you want to talk about. We can, I'm more than happy to kind of add things to the syllabus or do some freestyle topics depending on what the class is interested in. But yeah. Okay, I think that's a quick intro. Any questions on the syllabus of the course or anything you want to cover that, or you don't have to let me know, but anything you want to cover that I might have missed or anything you want me to know beforehand, like I want to make sure we learn this or anything like that. Oh yeah, sorry about that. I updated the syllabus last night because some of the students are, or at least one student is taking it like asynchronously. And that way, like, so it's not that much different. The only difference are the grading things. So page 2 is different and the rest of it should be the same. So, yeah. Yeah, it was only 3 pages. All right.
Professor Hoffman, I guess I would just ask,
Yeah.
if you were a student, what, is there anything, some things you'd recommend to us right off the bat? Here's what I would do, or here's what I would look for, here's what I would kind of focus on.
In the course, you mean?
Yeah, as I, we sit here, like kind of got this plan in my head, what I'm gonna do. Like, any suggestions or recommendations from your perspective?
Not, not that I can think of off the top of my head. I mean, I tried to go through and highlight the things that I thought were most applicable, but it doesn't mean that like, I'm sure you all have different career paths or I'm not sure what your long-term goals are. So if there is something you think is more, or if we get to something and you're like, I want to spend more time on this, we can do that, but not something I think of that would apply to everyone without knowing even your situation. So, but yeah, we can, yeah, but I'm pretty flexible. So, any other questions on the syllabus? Do you guys want to do intros or?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to make you if you don't want to, but yeah. All right. Well, since sir in the back, do you want to go first since you were here first? I'll give you and we'll kind of go.
My name is Benjamin Sandoval. I work at the and work part-time there. So I'm from a time work, so I plan for very good packages to be shipped by this for my business.
Awesome. Yeah, go for it.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ray Steven. I currently work at Bank of America, so I work in our global commercial banking and bank analytics corporate office. I've been there for 6 years. I've been in Laverne for my undergrad, my master's, and then now my doctorates. I have a wife, 3 kids. 2 kids are in high school, a senior and a junior, and then middle school.
Sure.
Adriana on the TV. I did my bachelor's and then master's there in business. I also have an bachelor's in psychology, marketing and planning. So I'm a city planner, airport planner, actually taking 10 months. So I think two adult kids. Well, now I have four adult kids, but maybe in 26 inside.
Hi, I'm Shangzhou from China, so I got my two master in Ohio, and one is finance and one is mathematics. And I was CFO in my United States in China, and now it's China to perform in my office. And yeah, it's nice to meet you. Amazing. Oh, I saw that you have another class. Okay. Yeah, and also the like the demo of so
Yeah. So you're from China?
yeah, but I live in Ohio and Kansas.
Oh, okay.
I'm the program manager at the Profile Solutions for maybe focusing on
I'm Carson, I'm a graduate in UCSD, biomedical. And I just started on their food system planning. I need an area. My name is Joe Bowman. I work for a company called Fortinet who do enterprise cybersecurity networking. We're kind of the underdog and in the field, which excites me greatly because I like a little bit of a challenge. I decided to join this program after getting my MBA many years ago. It was always something I wanted to do. It was just a matter of timing. The timing is right. I'm married. I have an 11-year-old daughter. I'm looking forward to working with everybody here and learning as much as I can from you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jay. Well, military veteran. Got my undergrad online while in many places that I've been while employed and overseas. I told myself when I was in service, I was going to get my confidence. So here I am. I have a 13-year-old and married. We just started 8th grade this week. So, really excited. Have a be here for you all.
Thank you for joining. Hello, my name is Luis. I work for JPL NASA. I'm a business administrator. We deal a lot with contracts, domestic, overseas. And I joined this program because ultimately I would like to really move back to my career within the company.
All right, let me see if, so I know there's Kyle or Sapita, we just did intros in the classroom. I don't want to put you two on the spot, but if you want to do a little quick intro, you're welcome to. I'll give you the floor, but let me know.
Hi, good morning. Sorry that my mic is that my mic was off and my camera is off. I just got to LA. I came from DC. So these 3 weeks, I'm actually between these two states. I completed my bachelor in computer science and my master in business administration in Washington, DC. And now I started BBA at University of Laverne, and I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome, thank you. Kyle, do you want to give a quick intro if you're present?
Sure. Yeah, sure. Hi everyone. My name's Kyle Wade, military law enforcement background. Just switched over to health field, not too long ago. I want to say about 3 years ago. My wife and I, we manage an assisted living. So we have a 150 bed assisted living. And pretty much just get my DBA, just learn, this side of the business. And I got a 10 month old. He's crazy. But yeah, that's about it.
Great, thank you. All right, well, it sounds like you all have a lot of important things going on, so, good to know. Thanks all for the introductions. Okay, so we can probably just jump right into it. Unless any more housekeeping questions or things we need to know before we just jump into the material? Yeah. All right. So and also this is because of the this is my first time using this D2L platform. I was very familiar with Blackboard for like 10 years, but it seems pretty much the same. But if there's anything that's if there's any shortcuts I need to know, let me know. But well, I need to know that. No. Yeah, I wonder which one of these is.
Press the button, any button.
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah.
Just because I'm in practice.
No, yeah, but it didn't show it on my thing.
You didn't register.
He saw this, I was like, oh, okay, I'm just waiting for him to do it, but I saw it was on the screen.
Yeah, no, I did. Let's see. Okay, so I guess just to start, so I haven't really. The only stuff I put on here is like under like the course homework content. So there's the syllabus which you went through. I put the class meeting info just to I tried to send you all an email last night with just the Zoom link in the classroom, but it didn't go through for whatever reason. So I just posted it here, but just in case you forget our classroom number or need the Zoom link, it's there.
It'll be the same thing when every week. Or
I think
just
so.
check there. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think so because it's like a series. But good question. So if for some reason it's not, I guess I can keep posting it, but I think it should be the same symbol. But I actually don't know. All right, and then I have a first homework assignment up there. We'll start going through it today. The way I like to, this class will be, the way I've taught a number of classes. What I usually like to do is have a pretty quick lecture and then do like a lot of work together because I think it helps you learn it better. So for most of the homework assignments, I try to have like a couple of questions and we'll do some of the homework assignments together. And you'll kind of, once I think you have enough info to do the rest, you can finish it. But I would recommend coming to class or joining via Zoom live because you will get some of the work done in class, which will save you some time. And then if you have any questions, you can kind of ask. But I like to go through a number of the homework questions together just so we can get a clear understanding of what to do. And then once you do, then you can kind of finish the rest. Okay. I do have a lecture. Okay, so this is also a bit different. It's not powerful, but okay. So if it looks fine like that, I guess I can just use this platform. All right, so I prepared this lecture to be for the first 2 weeks because as I mentioned earlier, the first 2 weeks will be a bit shorter. This one's going to be only about 2 hours. And this will hopefully cover the first 5 chapters. All right, and so this lecture we'll go through, and then after we go through the material, we'll start going through assignments and doing questions and stuff like that. But this lecture will be for the first 2 weeks. And so I probably won't prepare another, lecture slide until week 3, unless we don't get through this. All right. So the very first thing I guess it's important to know about is opportunity costs. And in the context of a business course, this is the the cost of what you give up, or in this case, like the profit of something to pursue something else. So this is a kind of a simple concept, but very important because if you're deciding between alternatives, like if you have a business, and you want to keep doing it, like the opportunity cost is not just like shutting down the business or, producing more, producing less. It's giving up what you could also do instead if there was like a better option. So if you, if you did like tech support and you kept working and like you were considering like, I want to keep working, the opportunity cost of continuing to work would be giving up like starting your own business or something like that. So it's a bit of an ambiguous term, but it's pretty important when we get into these decisions that firms make because it's always what you give up. So like for, just as a simple example, like what's the opportunity cost of one of you coming to class today? Like, can anyone give like a quick? Exactly, yeah. So he gave up sleeping, right? So that's, yeah, so it's what you like it's essentially like your best alternative, like your second best option, or maybe it's, I mean, some cases, like I'm sure that I like to think that you're all gonna come to class every week, but I know that that's a little unrealistic. So if I don't see you one week, I'll know that your opportunity cost of doing something else was higher. Like there was a family emergency, which is probably more important than, coming to class. So it's what you give up to pursue the other one. Okay, so just kind of getting into some simple terms. So the way we're going to go through chapters, I think chapter 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all pretty smooth. And there's a lot of stuff in chapter 5, so we'll probably spend more time on that. But when you go through, just know that like chapter 5 is probably more than meat in the first couple of weeks, and spend a little more time like when you're reading now. So there's a number of simple costs: variable costs, fixed costs, and total costs. And it's pretty simple. Fixed costs don't change with the amount of output. Variable costs do change with output, and most decisions that change output only change variable costs. So like if you have a business, there's a number of fixed costs which you like pay for initially, like the capital, the building, the computers, which you pay for anyways. Like you paid for the fixed costs. If you produce more units or sell more items, it's not going to change. But variable costs, when you produce more units, there's cost of that. Like if you're if you're running a restaurant, like the variable cost is labor, the ingredients you sell, but the fixed cost is like the building, the internet. You got to pay for that no matter what you sell, right? Okay, so there's a nice little picture. If I can go back to the textbook. It's nice to have it in this format because you can kind of navigate around when you're showing it. Okay. So nice, and I highlighted this, but there's a highlight feature, but some things highlight with a white background. So it's a pretty simple graph, but essentially this bottom part is how much output you're producing, and this is your total cost. So when you're not producing anything, there's no cost. Or I guess before you start the business, you're paying a fixed cost, right? It's this distance. Then each time you produce a unit, your total cost goes up, but it's only because you're adding things to the variable costs. So the fixed cost is the same, and each time you produce more, you're adding more. And it's not always this simple, like, or this smooth of a line, but each time you produce more units, there's a cost per unit, and likely that cost changes, right? So it's going to get your total cost is going to be your fixed cost, which you've already paid to start the enterprise, and then the variable cost, which is the cost per unit. Okay. So there's some of these examples I highlighted are also homework questions, which I put on the homework assignment. So I'll try to go. We'll try to cover some of the homework questions like through the lecture, and in particular this one. So example 3.7. Great time to navigate around here, but, so I'm gonna go to the end of chapter 3. Okay, so essentially, chapter 3 is pretty short. The opportunity cost concept is big, and then the different types of costs. And other than that, it'll give you some kind of stories, and I give you some good context when you read the textbook. But the one I wanted to look at real quickly is this one here. So, okay, and the concept might be a little, simple at first, but it'll probably get more technical as we go along. So I don't think we're gonna get too, math heavy today, but some things might take a little more calculation. So, let me know if the math aspect is okay. So here's our first example that we'll do right now. So essentially, there's a business incurs the following cost per unit. Labor is 125 per unit, and then materials is 45 per unit. Okay, then rent, which is going to be a fixed cost, is $2,500 a month. So if the firm produces 1,000 units a month, calculate the following: total variable costs, total fixed costs, and total cost. And obviously, total cost is just the sum of the two components. So I will just do this system. Oh, actually, I know what I'm doing. Okay, so just so if you go back to course home, there's a homework assignment section. And in that section, there should be just one homework assignment. Okay, so this will be the assignment that's due in 2 weeks, week 3. And we're gonna go through some of the content today, and the rest of it next time. But the way the homework I think will work best is, you'll prepare an answer sheet, and you can either prepare it as a Word or PDF document. It's up to you if you want to kind of do the homework assignments like with a pen and pencil, or if you want to type them out. It's kind of your preference. I'll probably do them just on Word because it's like hard to like anyone on Zoom can't see what I'm doing on the Blackboard, but I can do some things in the Blackboard too if that makes it easier. So up to you, but once you prepare your homework assignment, you'll just send all your work and your answer sheets via email to me, and then that'll be your first homework assignment. So this should be the questions we go through. There's a number of questions, but once we start getting through them, yeah, I also made up some questions. So the way I did the first assignment was I took a bunch of textbook questions, and then I have some questions from previous courses that I threw in there that seemed out. All right, so what I'm trying to tell you is that the first question is this one. So the problem we're about to do right now is 1 point. So you're all about to get 1 point of your grade, right? Okay. So what I'm going to do is open up. Yeah, I suppose I can also, I just don't like to give too many things on duplicative things, but if you want, I can also post the Word document if it makes it easier to like put your answers into it, but up to you. Okay. All right, back to the homework question. Right. Okay, so here we go. We're going to calculate total costs, fixed costs, and variable costs with this little assignment here, if I can navigate around successfully. So. Okay. So, here we go. The key things are labor cost per unit, material cost per unit, rent, and $1,000 a month. Okay? So why don't we start with just coming up with a simple cost function? So let's call this, I'll call total variable costs, TVC. Okay. Okay. So total variable cost is a function of how much we produce and how much the item is. So there's essentially a labor cost and there's a materials cost. And this will depend on the business, but in this case, there's labor and materials, right? Okay. You see that okay? Okay, so then the total variable cost is equal to, for labor, it's 125. All right, and per unit, I'm just gonna use Q for like output. So Q means like units or number of output produced. So every time we produce 1 unit of labor, it's 125 times that unit, right? And then you can probably guess that the next part is $45 times a unit of materials. Now, because this is all a linear simple structure, we can simplify it to be 125 plus 45 for each Q, right? You could just to go like old school math, we could do Q, and then if you take the Q out, it's 125 plus 45, right? And then equal to 125 plus 45 is so 130, 170 times Q, right? Yeah. So if you simplify this together, that means that each time you produce a unit, it's $170, right? So our total variable cost. Oh, actually, we did calculate that. So okay, so in this case, they're asking for what is our total variable cost. So how do we calculate the cost for this business? But yeah, exactly. So we have 1,000 units. It costs $170 per unit, and therefore it's going to be 170 times or a million. Sorry. So starting off with a,
Oh, wow.
I don't know why. Yeah. Okay, so that's going to be 170 million. Right?
You want?
I, well, I mean, I'd recommend showing your work. And the only reason is because some of the questions you'll be doing on your own. And if you show the work and like for some reason do the calculation wrong, I'll probably still give you most of the points. But if you just show the answer and it's wrong, then I have to like give you no points. So I highly recommend showing your work because I'll see like, let's say you did this and then you calculated out to 17 million. Obviously you did most of it right, but just messed up the last part. So I'd recommend showing your work because that's the most points you can get is doing. Okay. So there's our total variable costs. Okay. Total fixed cost is pretty easy.
Right.
It's just rent, right? So total fixed cost. Total fixed cost equals just the rent. And that just equals I'm assuming we're just doing it by the month, so it's. Oops. Okay, and rent seems cheap compared to this business expense, right? I don't know where this business is, they're producing 170 million but not paying any rent. Okay, so 250, and I guess this, just to preface this whole, this is like each month's cost, right? So all this is, of this, I guess they should have, in the question, calculate the following per month, just to be clear. All right, then total cost. We'll call that TC. Okay, so total cost is equal to total variable cost plus total fixed cost. And in this case, it's just this plus this. So it's, we'll need to write it again, so it's 170,250,000. Right? Okay, so I think that's a good, it's pretty simple, but these little calculations get more complicated, but it's important to see that your variable cost will change per unit because you know that you've already paid this, or you're gonna pay this per month. If you continue the business, and then depending on how many units you produce, now, in reality, it's probably the cost per unit will change. Like if you produce one unit, it's probably more expensive per unit and so on, like in that graph, but in this simple case, you get the idea. Okay, so our total variable cost is 170,000. 170 million. Our fixed cost is 250,000, and our total cost is 170,250,000. Right? You all agree? All right. So if you email this to me, you already got a point. Not today, but next. Okay, and I guess can you draw the graph? So the reason I'll do this on the Blackboard, I think just real quick, I can maybe show you. So essentially what we have here is we're just trying to show that there's a cost structure, right? And if I were to, I'm gonna write the whole equation without the quantities. So the total cost function would be equal to the total variable cost. Let's put the fixed cost first because it's starting big. So the rent is 250,000, and then plus 170 million times Q, right? So that's our equation. Okay, now pretty simple, but if you were to draw a graph of this, what you would do is just have quantity on the x-axis and total cost on the other, or cost on the other axes, and then started at 250,000, and then it's like a slope of 170 million. So this is output, and this is cost. Okay, and so because it starts each month, it's 250,000 in rent. That means that we've already paid. Okay, already, and then each unit we produce is an extra 170. Sorry, I told you this is not correct. So. Yeah, it should be this. Okay, so that was with the quantity, so, okay. So total variable cost function is 172, and the total fixed cost function is just 250,000. So that was with the output, so that. All right, so the total cost function correctly is this. Okay, so 250 for the rent, and then $170 for each unit. So that means that this part, I didn't mess anything up here yet, but that means that this. We go like this, all right, and this is that cost function. 250,000. Plus. 172. And that means that each time we, the slope of this is 170. Okay, so we produce, one unit. That's an extra 170,000. Or 2 units. It's another 170,000. So, right, so if it was just 1 unit, it'd be 250 plus 170, and so, but it shows that it's a simple illustration, but you can see that you're starting with a certain amount, and then each time you produce a unit, it changes your total cost. Okay. Questions on that?
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Oh, okay.
Better than,
All right, well, I'll leave it up there.
Yeah.
And then I'll, I'll put this here and then we can take your question. Okay, so,
I see, so 250K, that's your baseline cost, this is fixed,
correct,
and as you begin to build more units, the cost increases due to the labor.
that's right,
Got it.
yeah, well, the labor and the
And
the materials.
yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, see, you got it. Yeah. Okay, so we can continue. And, if you feel free to ask, if you think of questions as, if I put things up and you get to think about it for a second, feel free to ask. After the fact, we can always go back. Okay. So next,
Cost always on the y-axis then?
that's the typical way you do a
Yeah.
production function,
You know,
but you could flip it. It just doesn't, like the way that, I'm just trying to be consistent with the textbook kind of,
okay,
but if you look at this. So this, I guess, that's production cost, and this is output level if you want to like mirror the textbook,
okay,
right? So think of it that way. But you could represent it the other way. It just would be not the typical way you'd show production costs. Because usually you're looking at what happens when output changes, how that affects your cost, right? So this is normally usually output is the like X variable that's affecting the cost. Like this is the thing that changes that affects that.
yes, okay, thank you.
Where are we? Okay, marginal analysis. So. All right, so marginal cost is the additional cost incurred by producing and selling one more unit. So each time you produce one more of these cubes, the like incremental cost is the marginal cost. And then we haven't got to revenue yet, but each time you sell one more unit, the marginal revenue is the additional revenue you get for each additional unit or incremental unit. So you're always comparing like, if I want to produce more or produce less, what's that going to cost me and what am I going to get for selling that or not selling it? And that has an effect on your business. So essentially the rule of thumb, which I kind of just put in here from the textbook, is that marginal revenue and marginal costs are the relevant costs of an extent decision like selling. And the rule is you prefer to sell more if marginal revenue is greater than marginal cost, and that's because if you sell another unit and you're getting more than it costs you, then you're making a higher profit, right? And sell less if marginal revenue is less than marginal cost, because in that scenario, if you produce more, one more unit, you're getting less return for what it costs to make it. Okay, but then if you can somehow figure out the production point where MR equals MC or marginal revenue equals marginal cost, you're essentially maximizing profit, because if you produce more, you're losing money, or if you produce less. Now, clearly this is like, it makes perfect sense in theory. Any of you that, run a business, it's hard to figure that out because you have all these costs and all these, you might have everything planned and someone calls in sick or something, or, it's a good business rule of thumb, but you can see how there's constraints and variables that would derail that, even though you know what you're trying to do. Okay, so table 4.1, but this concept makes sense. Okay. Table 4.1. Okay, this is a nice little example because there's an example from your textbook where you have some radio station, and there's a marketing campaign, and there's a number of listeners, and you get a profit per listener depending on what the revenue cost is. So the simple example is like you're trying to find the level of marketing which maximizes your profit, and you can see that that's the point we're trying to illustrate is if you're doing only 10,000, you can do better by increasing your marketing budget. If you do 20,000, you can still do better. You can see here at 30,000, your marginal revenue and your marginal cost are not equal, but as equal as you can get. I guess we want to do like 29,000 or something, but you can see that any other scenario, like below this $30,000 marketing budget, you should be producing more, and anything above is costing too much, which kind of makes sense. Like marketing tends to work for like a certain number of groups, but if you try to get everyone, it's not cost effective, right? That's usually that's usually the trick of advertising is you want to advertise up to an amount.
So in that case, marginal cost, marginal revenue, they gotta be essentially like max cost of profit.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, they're close. In this chart, it's like close as they can get, but so yeah, that's kind of the trick here is for any we'll talk about advertising quite a bit later. Advertising is a very difficult thing to measure. I guess it's more so easy because of all the online tracking and ads, but it's hard to know exactly what you're getting for all the amount you put in. But this is the idea is if you're getting enough customers that's worth the cost to advertise and then the cost it takes to do the advertising, then it's worth it. But in many cases, like there's over advertising, you can think of like the Super Bowl. I mean, maybe those ads are worth it, but I think those ads are like $5 million now or something just for
a minute or
for like a minute.
Yeah.
And it's possible that they're running the numbers and saying like, this is, we advertise Coca-Cola, we're getting a bunch of people buying Coke. Seems unlikely, but so they're going for this, like, we want to spend as much and get the most amount, but it's possible that Coke could just, advertise on a normal Dodger game and just get like the same number for the same budget. But, okay. Okay. Why don't we do another example that has to do with this? So Example 4.2. Okay, so this one is a nice. I liked it at the time. Let's see. So you run a game days shuttle service for parking services for the local ball club. Your costs for different customer loads are $1, $30, $2, $32, $3, $35. So your cost per customer changes. It's not just, in this case, it was like, each one it was 170. So in this case, it costs different amounts for the different customer loads. And probably because like, you can think about why it would cost differently to transport customers. So if you have like 3 customers or 4 customers, they can probably go in the same like sedan. If you start getting to 5, 6, 7, 8, you're probably getting a van or getting 2 cars or something like that. But it probably depends on logistics. You can't fit, 8 people in a Prius or something. And then what are your marginal costs for each customer load? What's the average cost? And if you're compensated $10 per ride, what customer load would you want? So we're trying to see like, this is what it costs each person. But we're gonna get $10 per customer. So do we want to do 1 customer, 2 customers, so on? All right, let's see if we can figure this out. All right, so this is technically another point of your homework assignment. So why don't we start? First question is, what are your marginal costs for each customer load level? Okay. So let's just make a little chart. Let's call this customer number. And let's call the second column marginal costs. Okay. So we only have 8 options. Okay. And now remember the marginal cost is the incremental cost. So it's not just the cost it says, it's what is the change from the previous amount. So what's our marginal cost for 1 customer? 30. Right. That's the easy one. So what's the marginal cost for 2 customers? 2. Okay, so you can see that right away, like if you do just 1 customer, this isn't worth it. It doesn't matter what. All right, so then for 3, it looks like it's 3. For 4, so 3 to 4 is 3. Okay, 4 to 5 is 4. Getting more costly. Because we had to get a bigger van, right? From 5 to 6, it's 6. From 6 to 7, it is 9. And from 8 to 9, oh, sorry, from 7 to 8, it's 11. Okay. So you can see that once you get to like 5 customers or more, or first of all, like 1 customer isn't worth it. And then we want to be like working in this area because here we have to get a bigger car, right? So that's not going to work. You got to rent the van or whatnot. Then what's the average cost? Okay. Um, Okay, so the average cost is just the total cost per unit. All right, so average cost equals total cost divided by Q essentially. If you want to call it a customer Q. Okay, so for one customer, it's 30 divided by 1, which is 30. For two customers, it's 32 divided by 2, which equals 16. Okay. For three customers, it's 35 divided by 3. What's that? I need it. Thank you. Got it? There you go. 10 point,
667. 667.
okay. Thank you.
35 divided by 20 is not really fun.
11?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, then we got, four customers, it's 38 divided by 4. What's that? 10.5? 9.5. Okay, five customers, 42 divided by 5. 8.4. Okay, six customers, 48 divided by 6. Ooh. Seven customers, 57 divided by 7. Okay. And then 68 customers divided by 8. What was it? 5.5. Okay, so we've got the average cost per unit, all right? Now, if you are compensated $10 per ride, what customer load do you want? Okay. So, guess that's really irrelevant of the average cost, but if we get $10 per ride, I guess it depends on, so that, let's see. So the rule of thumb is we want to, okay, we want to choose the Q where marginal cost equals marginal revenue, right? Okay. So if basically marginal cost is up there, and what's our marginal revenue? It's always 10, right? You get $10 per person. So it actually looked like, it's less costly to produce these, but if we're getting $10 per ride, I guess we can. Well, but this is the marginal cost, right? So if the marginal revenue is 10, right, we want our marginal cost to be close to that. So I guess we have the option to do 9 or 11 because it's in between. Both of, I'd have to do you see what I mean?
So you're looking at the marginal cost or a number of costs.
Yeah. And now, well, I guess we did want to look at the average cost because that tells us, so let's see. So marginal revenue is 10, and marginal cost for 7 and 8 is 9 and 11. All right, and so why don't we, so it's gonna be either total cost. Choose total cost, sorry, marginal cost equals 9 or marginal cost equals 11. Because it's closest to. Now. It looks like the average cost is a little bit lower for 9. But you can just calculate to confirm, we can just get our profit. Okay, so what's our profit at 7 customers? Okay. We would get it would cost revenue minus cost. Okay. So revenue at 7 customers is 10 times 7, right? We have 10 customers. We have 7 customers. They give us $10. And then the cost is $57, right? That's the cost for different customers, yeah, $57. Okay. So therefore, our profit is 70. I'm sorry, yeah, minus 70 minus 57. Which equals 13. Okay. All right. So now let's check our profit. I think that's gonna be the answer because our average cost is lower. But because we're looking at the rule of thumb, like 10's in between, I guess like like 7.5 customers would be the answer, but we can't really like take half a person.
So you're assuming it's $10 of revenue per customer or per ride? Because if you can fit 7 customers in one ride, it's still $10. Or am I reading that wrong?
If your comp says $10 per ride, I assume that's per customer riding, right? Because
Okay,
we don't know we don't have any info on like. Yeah, if we had costs on like specific vehicles, but I think that's $10 per ride.
yes, if you account to $10 per ride, what customer will original?
But yeah, so we know that the marginal revenue that we're getting is always 10, right? Because each rider is, that's like a $10 ticket, right? Each one pays 10. That's typically how like a shuttle works, like $10 to ride, but the business costs are different. All right. And we're trying to produce where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. Marginal revenue is always 10, but marginal cost changes. But we don't have exactly where they're equal, so I think we want to check between 9 and 11, right? So let's check profit. Of 8 riders. Okay. So revenue is 8 times 10. And cost is 68. Or 80 minus 68. 12. Okay. So it looks like our revenue is highest. We make a big $13 for this. And if you want to just, confirm that this makes sense, but you've done it correctly, you want to check below it as well. Like, let's check 6. And 6 should give us less revenue, and that'll confirm we're doing it correct, right? So profit 6 equals 6 riders, $10 each minus our cost of 48. And that's 60 minus 48. And that's equal to 12. Okay. So we got our marginal costs here. We got our average cost here. And we know that if we're compensated $10 per customer load, we wanna, we want to. We want a customer load of 7 to max. Right? Okay. That's, all right, and then I think the purpose of the average cost was to show that. So was our average cost lowest at? No, it was lowest at 6. So the average cost didn't really help us get the answer, but it's important to see how that's, so it's. But our average cost was 8 here. But because it depends on how much, I guess if we're just trying to get the lowest cost. It's somewhere around here, but because of the revenue, we might as well produce if we want. Or get another revenue. Okay, yeah. Yeah. Sure, yeah, looks like it's a, yeah. I don't know, but it's probably somewhere to the right. Oh, just there's there's a quick bathroom break, just FYI, so it'll be a couple minutes. I think we tried, and there are lots. I know, it's really hot,
Yeah.
but I don't know,
Bathroom.
uh,
Well, hoping that we just do work.
Yeah, I don't,
It's nice.
well, there's no like, I think that's like a safety hazard because there's no screens. But I don't think they own, but you know.
I think the conclusion was because we needed the, average cost, equals the total cost times quantity, or quantity.
Yeah,
I think that, I think that's where I got lost, but which are, something is marginal revenues, right? That's the equation for the marginal revenue.
yeah, let's go back to it. Yeah, so
That, yes, that column is basically the help for a marginal revenue.
no, it's actually not important to the. That's only just calculating the average cost.
Well, yeah. Are those the marginal revenue?
No, the marginal revenue is always 10.
Okay.
Because we're getting $10 per customer.
Okay.
Like anytime we get another writer, they give us $10. So it's kind of, yeah, it's kind of a trick where, like, we had to calculate marginal costs, but marginal revenue is always 10 in this scenario because each time we get a writer, we get $10. So the revenue from each additional unit writer is $10. And I guess this kind of threw us off because
Yeah.
it didn't really have to do anything to do with the decision. It was just part of the question. It's important to know what average cost is. It'll come in later, but just determining how many customers we want to get to maximize. It has to do with how much it costs in the margin and how much we receive in the margin. All right. So ignore this when you're thinking of the answer to the. Are you all just starting the program or is it like second year?
First day for me.
First day, okay. Oh, oh, okay. Oh, that's how, okay. So you're all starting at the same, today's. Oh, so this is all your first week?
Yeah,
Oh, cool. Nice.
You're the first.
Oh, there's no night classes during the week?
there until Saturday.
Okay, how many classes are set today? Two? Oh, okay. Gotcha. Uh, how long is the program? 3 years? Yes. Yeah, I didn't know this was your first class.
That's probably for me. I've been in schools for the summer.
Well, we'll get a hang of it. I mean, well, I'm sure it'll take some getting used to. Like,
Yeah.
everything is like digital now and
Yes.
it's,
Maybe you do that. 3, 4.
All we learn, like, we Yeah, mine would go to babies, and after we go to the PhD program. And basically been accepted as my PhD program and second master. And then I was 9 experience. Need to work for.
It really is.
I like the practice.
Yeah. So classes are all only Saturday?
Yeah.
Oh, that's. Like 2 classes at a time? Oh, then you get a new,
That's traditional leadership. After, after the 80s.
Okay. yeah, this is a long commute.
An hour.
Oh, okay. Like 9 minutes, okay. We're missing.
We got this customer. I say that 'cause I got 2 electric cars.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yes,
you are. All right, all right. Well, I don't even have an electric car, but obviously I just think customer. And employee. But, you get a discount if you work, if you work there, so,
Oh, is that right?
Do you really?
yeah.
Well, I don't think so. Yeah. It's expensive.
It's still, I mean, it's not that big. of a
Just
discount.
The average kilowatt hour rate across the country is 13%, give or take. You probably know better than I do.
$13. I mean, 13 cents.
13 cents per kilowatt hour, and then I think my baseline is 25, so I mean, arguably, if in California, we're almost double the national rate. As a baseline, then, 4 to 9 goes up. It's steady and expensive, and anything with a dollar sign in front of it, I start paying attention.
Yeah, yeah. Once you get into like the second tier,
Yeah.
the peak rates. That's when electricity is the most valuable, so
Yeah.
it makes,
Well, I think there's huge demand coming for electricity for, AI data centers amongst other things.
that's the theory. I haven't seen it yet, but. Yeah. That's what we're preparing for, but I don't know. There hasn't been that much increase in demand the last 10 years,
Yeah.
which is surprising, so maybe that does it, but. Cause it's just, we're getting more efficient and,
Okay.
but maybe for the data centers, we need a ton of. New load, but for the electric cars haven't hit the level we thought. So. Yeah, they don't, I know,
Try.
yeah,
It's more the.
I know, I don't know if it would make it any cooler, it might.
Yeah, it's pretty warm out there too.
I don't know who to call about the temp, but I'll send some emails this week. I don't wanna pass that either. Is everything okay?
Yeah, if I pass out, it's gonna be Kaiser.
Okay, yeah, okay,
Good to know.
Yeah.
yeah.
Good, go ahead.
Make sure you hydrate. All right, let's continue. Um. All right, so we're essentially those. I encourage you to read the first 4 chapters, chapters 1 through 4. I tried to kind of go over the highlights, but maybe next time or the time after, if you read through it and there's additional things you want to discuss, we can do that. But I'm going to try to go through the whole textbook and get the key points that I think are most important that would be valuable for your learning experience. But if you see something like I didn't talk about in class uh, that you want to talk about, let me know and I'm happy to put it on. But okay, so when you get a chance or if you have the textbook, start reading through the textbook. The first 4 chapters are pretty smooth reading, and hopefully reinforce some of the things we just learned. I want to move now to chapter 5. We'll start this today and we'll probably pick up next time as well. There's a lot in chapter 5 because it has to do with like investment decisions and like net present value and evaluating the future kind of thing. So it might take a little bit longer to get these concepts, but that's okay. We'll spend as much time as we need. So as we start to do this chapter, just let me know if we need to kind of back up or whatnot. But I do think chapter 5 is a little more. It takes a step up on the like the math and previous. Okay, so first rule of thumb is we're going to be looking at interest rates and how those interest rates affect investment decisions and the value of money now versus later. Higher interest rates will reduce real interest rate prices on average. It's probably not the best statement because California really doesn't. Lately, it seems like higher interest rates don't lead to lower real estate prices, but they should because it's more expensive to get the loan out, and if it's more expensive to do a mortgage, that should put the price of the house down. But there's other factors though. You're paying cash, stuff like that. Okay, so why don't we just jump right into learning about future value and present value, and then yeah, maybe next time we'll get into net present value where we look at like a stream of cash flows. So let's start simple. So essentially, the future value of something 1 period from now, like a year or a month, is the present value, and then you multiply that by the interest rate, right? So just to keep it simple, like think of something that you already know, like we'll try to do like a note section. Okay, so here's our present value, simple formula. Okay, so this is not a homework question, it's just, oops. Okay, so future value equals the present value times 1 plus the interest rate or discount rate, whatever you want to call it. So just to make it simple, just think of something where you don't even have to use the formula. Like if you have $100 and you put that in a bank that earns 5% interest per year, how much money are you gonna have in 1 year? Like if it's $100 at 5% interest.
$105.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to do the calculation, right? So but it does get more complicated. So if you're, let's say, present value equals $100 and the interest rate Yeah. Equals 5%. Which in like math terms is 0.005. Okay, then to do this, simple calculation, it's your, let's call this future value. So the future value of $100 times this simple like interest accruing, 1 plus 0.05 is 1.05. So if you multiplied $100 by 1.05, you're getting $100 plus the 5%. Okay? And that would be the same for any number of things that you can't just think of in your head. So if you had the present value was $997, and the interest rate was equal to 8.5%. You can see it's a little bit more difficult to do it on top of your head, but this would be 0.0885. Okay, so therefore your future value would equal $997 times 1.085, right? And the equation should work. I don't know what that is off the top of my head, but it's probably over $1,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
1,060.
Like this,
Yes.
exactly.
0.01.
Oh, there you go. All right. So if you obviously you can see the more you put in interest earning and the higher the interest rate, the more it'll be worth in the future. And will also tell you that if you want something now, that it'll cost you more to get it now if the interest rate's higher, because you could invest that money at this rate. So what we can do is take this present value and this future value relationship and flip it around to get present value, right? So future value is simpler. It's like you put this in the bank, it earns this much rate. This is what you get. But knowing what something in the future is worth now is a little more complicated, but all you have to do is flip this around, right? So therefore, if we understand future value, we can understand, actually, let me do this part first. So future value, K periods in the future, is the present value times the same thing, but because it would, gain interest on the interest for a number of years, like if any of you have student loans, you would know this concept in theory, even if you don't calculate it. If you get like a 6% interest rate, it's 6% off the new interest, and another, it's accrued interest. So okay, so the future value, K periods in the future, and then sometimes I'll use this is the same, the star is the same as like the times thing, and sometimes I'll even just, I think I've done it before with just the parentheses. So if I kind of jump around with different terminologies, let me know if you're confused, but usually like, let me see. So let's like 5 times 10 is the same as 5 times 10, or I can also do like 5 times 2. So sometimes I do those kind of interchangeably, but just know they all mean the same thing, like this means you're multiplying it, this means you're multiplying it, this means you're multiplying it, but if there's ever any confusion, or let me know, but I'll try to be consistent, but sometimes like if you use the textbook example, it has it one way. Okay. So future value, k periods in the future is the present value times 1 plus r, and this should be superscript. Oh, like that. Okay. Now it's probably gonna. All right, so so the future value is the present value times 1 plus r, and that's raised to like the power sign of the number of years that it the number of k periods. So let's use our examples here again. Let's say the present value is $100. Let's say the interest rate is 5%. And we know after 1 year, it's $105, but if it's k periods in the future, we don't know. So let's say that maybe this is like a 30-year bond or something, right? So let's say you have $100, you have something, an asset that costs $100. The interest rate is 5%, but you let it earn that interest for 30 years. And remember, the interest compounds on the previous interest each time. So we could do the same equation 30 times, or we can just raise it to the number of years, because essentially, like if it's so the present value equals in a case of like 2 years. Okay, it would be, yeah, well, it'd be like the present value, and then it would be times the 1 plus r, and then it would be times it again, right? So if you keep doing it, it keeps, so, and this is the same as equals the present value times 1 plus r squared. Right? And then if you did it again, it would be like this, you'd have another 1 plus r. But to simplify it, all you have to do is put the number of periods here, and that way you don't have to do the full calculation. But if you wanted to understand how it was done, essentially for this one, we would have 31 plus r's, and you multiply them all together, and you're welcome to like check it on your calculator, but it's like I guarantee it'll come out the same unless you do like a input there. But so the shortcut, rather than doing like 1 plus r times 1 plus r times 1 plus r, is to just illustrate the number of periods you want to invest this thing for, and then you can see what it would be worth after those years. But that's what we're doing. It's just adding a number of sequences of 1 plus r's, because each time you're getting interest on the previous total amount with interest. Okay. All right. Does that make sense? Okay. Now back to our example. We want to know how much the present value of $100 is at a 5% interest rate for 30 years and the earning that interest. Okay. Now, obviously, like this is assuming that the interest rate is constant and nothing changes. If anything changes, then. But present value equals the $100 times 1.05, and then we're gonna raise it to 30, okay? Like this. Okay, so that means our present value equals something that we're gonna put in heaven, right? So you're gonna multiply 100 times 1.05 raised to 30, and then you can do it like, I would normally do it like kind of like this in the calculator, where you do the 1.5 part first, raised to the 30, and then multiply it by 100, but you can do it either way. So if I did like 100 times 1.05 raised to the 30, or 32 and 19 cents, yeah, approximately. Okay, so quite a bit different if you let it keep earning interest for 30 years at that same rate, right? Okay, and then that should work for, you know, any number in any number of years. Yeah. Okay. You don't, but you need to be able to like do this kind of calculation. So you probably want to have like to be able to do separate arguments kind of thing. You could probably just show there's like an online version that's free. I don't know, you could probably do this with your phone, but or there, maybe there's a phone app, but I don't know if you will need some kind of calculator, I guess. Yeah, yeah. You could probably get around it by just finding an app or something. Um, yeah, you could do it in Excel. It's always that. I've had this in 7th grade, honestly, so it's, yeah.
I got passed on.
Such a big deal. and I-
This is one of the oldest things I own.
Is it the 85?
Yeah, TI 85. Yeah,
That's it, huh? Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. Uh-huh.
Oh,
Yes, you can use that for any single one, present value, and not
It's already built in,
and then
right?
IRR, and then anything. It's awesome.
Yeah.
there you go. That's, yeah. And when in doubt, just like,
CFO, right?
So,
yeah, you want, if you have like I don't know if you all have like an internal message board or like, yeah, ask your classmates if you have a. I can?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's this board. Is that right?
On the sides,
On this?
yeah.
Yeah. Some message board built in there.
I knew them for a whole
More than the all this.
I'm trying to find out where my,
Had that button, but God, you're like, it's long gone, I didn't know.
okay, here we go. So on the, yeah, there's probably like, discussions.
That's for it.
You can start a discussion. So, or I can, let's see. New forum. We'll call this, or what do I call it? How do I spell Reddit? That?
There you go, yeah.
Yeah, no one can tell, like, I don't want to get like copyright infringement by Reddit, so if this gets really popular, don't
Yeah, you never know, okay.
Okay, so create a new topic. What does that mean? Create a new topic in this forum at the same time. I don't. I'll just do the default ones. All right, so if you go to discussions. Add a topic. And be like, calculator type needed. Do I need a there you go. So then you can respond. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So then there's a little rule of thumb that is noted in your textbook where if you want to know the amount of time it takes to double your money, it obviously depends on the interest rate, but there's a little trick. And if you invest at a rate of return of R, or the interest rate, you can divide 72 by R to get the number of years it takes to double your money. And it's not 100%, I mean, it's pretty close, but it's a pretty good rule of thumb. But you can look at a little example here. If it, just, just, okay, so there you go. So basically, here's a little trick from the rule of thumb from the textbook. And in practice, you can see that here's some different values, here's some different interest rates, and here's some different years. So all you need to do is divide 72 by R to get the number of years it would take to double your money. So here's R, and here's 72, and you can see that like at a 2% interest rate, it would take 36 years. And each time the interest rate, or if the interest rate goes up, it takes you less time because you're earning more interest, right? And once you get to like, a 12% interest rate, and so, this is like, so when the, government gives you a student loan at 6%, they double their money in 12 years. But there's a pretty clear relationship between interest rates and years, and just it's not, you see it's not exact, like it's 202 or 203, not exactly 200, but as a pretty good rule, just divide 72 by the interest rate and you should get a pretty good estimate. Okay. Now, present value is when you're taking the future value concept and going in reverse. So all we would do for this equation I'm about to show you is rearrange the future value, and then you can determine what that value is worth in present value. So future value. So if I take this future value formula Okay, and then all I have to do to get present value is rearrange it and solve for present value. So if I know that this is present value and this is future value and this is 1 plus r, to get present value, I just divide future value by 1 plus r, right? So just a simple, divide both sides by 1 plus r, that would mean that the present value equals the future value divided by 1 plus r. So it's the same thing. It looks a little more complicated because you're dividing by interest rate or multiplying by a discount factor, but it works because therefore you can see like, for example, if we work backwards with what we had, we should get the same like present value. So, let's say we want to know the present value of what's it called? We will do this. We will know the present value of $105 at 5% interest. Okay, so in this case, the future value that we calculated before was 105, but it should give you the reverse. So if you want to know the present value of $105 at 5% interest, you just do it like that, where you divide the future value by the interest rate plus 1. So that would give us 100, right? I mean, I would have to do, you could just divide it, but we already know it from before. So what you see that is that those two things should be equivalent, like finance-wise, is if the interest rate's 5%, if that changes, then that changes things. But the present value of that asset is $100. And the future value of that asset is $105, right? So with the interest rate, it should be equivalent that either you have $100 now or $105 in the future, but you should be indifferent. And if you're not, then you might want to borrow or like lend out money. Okay. And then you would see like if it's understood. Okay, and then you would see that if the interest rate changes, that's going to change your present value and your future value. So essentially, like if the interest rate increases, your future value increases, right? Because you're getting more interest. But what happens to your present value? It decreases, right? Because it's worth less now because you could otherwise invest it for a higher interest rate. So, but your present value decreases. Okay, and then the opposite is true. Like if the interest rate decreases, your future value decreases because you're getting less interest. But your present value tell me what to tell you. I have to think for myself more. Yes. So that's why, like, when you're looking at something in present value, it really makes a difference of what the interest rate is because it's always this decision of like how much do you want the money now, and if the interest rate goes up, and for any context, like there's more of an incentive for you to leave the money in the interest bearing account unless you really need it. But as interest rates go down, you'll see more people like kind of trend towards cash or like current assets because what's the point of investing if it's like 0.5% or something like that? So. Makes sense?
Mhm.
All right, I think, we're gonna stop here for the day. And, make it a short class. Any closing questions before we?
Let's go back to what you were saying about housing in California, so, you see how like prices still pretty stable?
Yep.
Would you say that you need higher interest rates to lower price?
In theory, higher interest rates would lower prices, and that's what we tried to do. It just didn't work because you have so many individuals like paying cash or buying like a second home, so increasing the interest rate should decrease the value of homes because it's becoming more expensive. But if you have, a number of buyers that like work around that by just paying cash, then it kind of messes up the system, but it should, yes.
I think it worked in most other places, but not here.
Yeah, it really is strange that, interest rates went up so much and mortgage rates and the housing prices pretty much stayed the same or went up. So, I don't know how to figure it out. But in theory, yeah, I mean, maybe if interest or mortgage rates went up to like 30%, then you'll see some houses go down, but at this like 6%, it's not seeming to have a big effect, but it should. It just isn't. Like this would tell you yes.
I think even if they went up to 30%, that it would stay up because you and that and both selling.
You're probably right. Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah. Yes.
Have you heard of credit creation theory?
Maybe, but I don't know the exact concepts.
It's a, some economist, Richard Werner, mentioned that most of the money supply it's not controlled by the Federal Reserve, but it's created by banks when they issue credit. In other words, banks add to the money supply via credit.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, that's a more of a macro topic.
Okay.
But I can show you how that works. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you gotta run. I just
Yeah.
got a PhD economist here to help me.
Well, I'll be here all semesters. Oh,
Yeah, thank you.
but, all right, let's see. Kyle and Sapita, I'm gonna log off here, but thanks for joining and I'll catch you next time. Let's.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Safe flight.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.